Alright, so last episode, or I think it was 2 episodes actually, because I went a little long, we talked about the clock API that I had made. So now we're going to review the file API. If you had it start up real quick. The file API and the config API. I think I might add a couple things to the T API, but I don't really think so. If we have time, I'll check that to see if there's anything. But I don't think these existed at all before. So we're going to look at those. So let's see here. We're going to start with the file API. So I added exists, so file.exists, and it just checks using fs.exists if it exists or not. And it returns true or false. In that specific path. I'm planning on expanding this to be like, it will check into directories and all that, so you could do, if you did the root directory, it would check, you could have a second one like in directories or whatever, and then it would go further into the further directory. Basically, if you did the root file, it would check all of the in-computer, probably excluding the ROM folder. Then there's make folder, so that file.make folder makes a directory, and then if that directory exists, it will go true. If it doesn't, then wait a minute, what? Then the file exists. If it failed to make it, then the file already exists. And then then that already exists. So actually, this could go right here. No, it could go right here. So if it already exists, yeah. So basically, it checks if make folder exists, and then if whatever folder they want to make exists, then it says file already exists. If it doesn't, then it makes the directory, and then it says true, we created your amazing directory, have fun. And then there's also a delete here, which what this does is it deletes whatever it is. So it checks if it exists. If it does, then it deletes it and returns true. If it doesn't exist, then it just says file does not exist. All good. There you go. I want to add a function here. I started on it, but I ran into some problems called make file name, and then it would make an empty program file. But I ran into some problems with that. So right now, just I can put that there as an empty thing. It doesn't do anything. So that's the file API. Really short and simple. Now let's do the config API. So this one's a little more complex. And this API I did so that in APIs and programs and stuff, you can save data to config or retrieve data from a config. So that way you can basically you can make your variables pass between program instances or computer instances. So if a program reboots or whatever, or you could have like the text color in a program be changeable in the config, so people can change it in a settings option in your program and it stays changed all the time. Or every time you load the taskbar, it will change the taskbar text color and background color, so that if you load it without giving it a background and text color, then it will just load it with the past background and text color, for example, which is something I want to do. So I created the config. So this isn't in a function. You'll notice this is, I think, so far the only one I've done this with. And what that does is it makes this folder, this configs folder, in the root directory. So if I go back here, you'll notice it's the same spot up here. There's this config, which if you go in configs, then you see this empty one. And if that doesn't exist, then this API will create it. So if I delete this, move to trash, and then I go to Minecraft, and I reboot this computer, and I go back to Finder, you'll notice it's back. Config is there. And actually, you can't actually see that. That's called, there you go. See, config is there. Oop, I went all the way back. So that's where all the configuration files will get stored. So that will run whenever the API loads, and there's no other time that you can run it. So that just checks if configs exists, then you make the folder configs. Now, to add a config file, which what this does is config.add, and then you give it a name. And the name is can't be a string. Right now, if it's a string name, no, it needs to be a string name. And what it will do is it will write in this folder, it'll make a file that is blank, I think. This is the wrong API. No, it says config equals nil because I had trouble trying to making it do space. Wasn't working for some reason, so I had to just do config equals nil. For now. Let's just try doing that and see if it works. Now save that, go into Java, or sometimes Minecraft. Let's try editing test to, I think it's all good, config.get test config. I'll just add a config right now. See if adding the config test works. Test. cd configs list. Oh, okay. And edit test. It should be completely blank. Yep. So you'll notice it's just a space bar here. You can add another one, but so this is the config file basically. So it can be edited using an edit program without any problems. Is that a program? And I didn't know X was a program. I always type that by accident when I'm trying to leave because I use Lua a lot more now than I used to. So, okay, well, we just did some on-the-go coding. So that will create a blank file by the name of name. So what it does here is it says cname, which is config, which stands for config name, is config/name. So basically generates the path of. So you said I want it called this, and this says, okay, it's called config/name, puts it in the configs folder. And now, or directory. Now file.exists cname. So if that already exists, then you return false. Config file already exists, meaning that program may have created already, or it may not have. So I'll have to do some error testing. But that's not the API's job to deal with. And then config.fs.open cname w. So this fs.open is for modifying files. It opens the file, a cname. It opens the file cname, in this case config/name, under either you can do write or read only, write, or append. Read will redo that. Read will only let you read the file. Write will delete everything in the file, and you can will delete everything in the file, and append will add things to the file. So if you write something into a file when it's in write mode, it will delete the whole file and just write what you put. If you do it in append mode, it will add on to what already exists in the file. So I pick write, because the file, and if the file doesn't exist, it will create it. So that's how I'm creating the file here. So I'm actually going to copy. Wait, did I not close this? Config.close. That should close it. Is that why I didn't do the space? Did it error when I tried to config.close? Oh yeah. Unfinished string on line 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, because of that. I don't know why, but my keyboard doesn't use that. Oh, wrong button. Test. Works fine. Probably. Yep. Test is now in configs. Or, did we even delete it? Trash. Test. Alright, that works. It's good to always close an opened file, because it can cause problems if you have tons of files opened. So it's good practice to always close them. They'll close automatically when the computer dies. I'm not sure if they close automatically when the program ends. I don't think they do, actually. Or when the API is done running. But this basically creates an empty file. I'm actually going to make this into a new file API. File.makefile. Make file. C name. And now function remove name. So this make file creates a blank file, by the way. Actually, maybe I can make it one of the parameters is what a file contains to begin with. Okay, and now function remove name. This removes an API, so it's the opposite of adding one. It deletes, basically, so it uses file.delete instead of make file. Checks if it exists, and deletes it if it does. If it doesn't exist, then it says false does not exist, and I actually don't have it returning as true here. Return true. And it does the wrong thing here. This should be configs .name. So yeah, basically it checks if config / whatever they entered to delete the config exists. If it does exist, it deletes it. If it doesn't, then it says, sorry, that config doesn't exist. And I haven't written the function for setting a config, but I have written it for getting a config. Give me a second here. We're gonna make this oh crap. Okay, well, fl equals fs.open. Okay, so that will open the file, and now I want to write. You can also do write line, but I just want to write text, and then I want to close the file. There. If the file does not exist, or if the file does not exist, so if exists name, then else return false file exists here, return true and end. There we go. There's our make file function. So now let's go back to the config. So, actually, you know what? Let's make sure that works first. So control reboot, file 25 equals expected. And this is I usually go for the first error before I go for the second error, because usually this would be fixed by this. So equals expected. Probably put like 2 equals somewhere or something. Let's go to the file API. Would be somewhere in here. The 25th line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Return equals expected there. Okay, let's edit. That doesn't. Let's edit it from in-game, because there may be something that looks normal there, but doesn't in the in-game editor. Edit APIs / file. 25th line. Yeah, so return true line. Why do you want equals there? Let's fix it. Because it worked fine when it was config. And I had tons of trouble when it was H. So let's save that and run. Equals expected still. So I just delete the return true. Wait a minute, did I not have brackets on there? Let's try this. Yep, I just didn't have brackets on. So save, run. It's completely fine, okay. Reboot. Test. Alright. Good. Everything's fine. Yeah, I didn't put brackets on there. We're going to close that now. We're going to close this too. And we're going to reopen them real quick here. Because it said they were edited, but I want to get the unedited version. You know, I just realized I didn't zoom in. This text is probably way too small for you guys. You probably have no idea what I'm doing. You could zoom in on your own thing, but it's better if I zoom in for you. Okay. There we go. That's probably better. So, we're gonna, if we have time, we're gonna do the function.set this episode. Or we're gonna do the function set this episode. But if we don't, then we're gonna do it next episode. We're definitely gonna get through the get this episode. So, function get config. So this is the name of the config that they want to get the value from, and the name of whatever they're trying to get the value of. So, C equals configs dot config. So this is basically the path to the config that they want. And then name length is string dot length name. So the length of the value that they want. So here we have to use string dot sub to figure it out, right? What? Yeah, because I want to get this as a string to make it simple and less confusing. So I'm just chopping off the these things from the string. that's not how that works. Nope. Okay, file.exists. So if C exists, then C settings equals a blank table. Line number equals 1. And I never use those. os.loadAPI, so we're loading API C. C value equals config.name. So basically, the configs, the setting here, we're going to set the configs. So let's say, here's our config, right? Let's say we want to get what test. So test is a setting in our config that gives us a string of hi. Alright, that we stored for later use. Now we would say test. So let's go, actually I haven't tested this actually, so edit test print, because I haven't made the config setting, right? So I haven't been able to test the getting, but I didn't think of just doing that. So config name is test, and the value is test. So print config.get test. Test nil. Great. So that didn't work. So it got nil. Which means let's put some prints here. Oh yeah, and then it unloads the API, so it doesn't load it all the time. Print unloading API. Unloading config. And here print loading config. Oh, that didn't work. Print. And here print C value is C value. So we get all that information reported back to us. So let's close that. Now let's reload the API with all our print functions in it. And loading config, attempt to get constant string and nil. Oh, okay, right, of course. Concatenate string and nil, sorry, not concentrate. So that is definitely not nil. It's definitely high, right? Yeah, so, oh. So that means that we have a problem with our config API. Forgetting things. So we may need to use fs.open and string subbing after all. It seems like this loading API isn't working. So let's delete all of this load API stuff. Let's work on local